Throughout the history of war, combat veterans have returned home maimed, both physically and emotionally. The medical profession does a superb job of putting soldiers back together by providing a variety of life-saving and life-altering physical interventions. But the emotional piece, the unseen scars of war and death, have been, for the most part, an insurmountable challenge for modern medicine. And what does this say for trauma victims in general? Well, consider this. The same medical means in place to treat the emotional stress in combat vets is the same means being used to treat the rest of us. At issue is an important, if uncomfortable, question. Has every avenue to healing seemingly incurable conditions like PTSD been explored? Furthermore, is it what we'll accept for ourselves? Is no one prepared to look beyond the therapist's couch or the pharmacy shelf for the answer?
And you had to crawl, up there. And when that pile went off, they cut the fucking legs right off.
The same mechanism happens in trauma each and every time. You feel overloaded, you feel helpless, you think your life is being threatened, and therefore you freeze, and you go, and you download information into your body.
The trauma that was running through his body, the shaking, his eyes, he was incredibly dissociated to begin with. He was out there. It was to keep bringing him back to the room.
And then the medic that tried to work on King, when he got home, and then somebody told me that he killed himself down in Myrtle Beach one weekend because he couldn't take that.
Veterans come home ready to do battle, but they're at home and they don't need to do battle. But their unconscious minds and their bodies, remember, are holding on to these frozen pieces of memory that have been downloaded, and they expect they are going to need them one day. So they hold on to them, and they're very vigilant. And if anybody looks like, sounds like, smells like anything that happened to them in war, they're ready to access it, to bring it up right away to help them.
In '93, the identity of Sergeant Hodnick went away, right? And I became Andy Hodnick or Andrew Hodnick, or to me, I was a nothing.
It was like, if you don't agree with me, I'm going to kill you right here before you get out of this room. Things like that. It's just nuts.
I began to get calls from him about waking up, and something had happened. He had totally destroyed his room, and including a metal file cabinet. It was all ripped apart. So there were several of those, and he'd ask me, what do you think's happening to me? What is wrong with me? And that was the beginning of our being suspicious of PTSD.
Had violent tendencies. He described himself, I believe, as slightly paranoid. He was scared of everyone and didn't feel safe, and he carried a gun everywhere he went.
Why do you think that you shouldn't be having feelings about it?
Because you drive on, airborne drive on, right?
Okay. Can I do a little bit on that? Even though I have to be perfect?
Even though I have to be perfect.
And I can't show my feelings.
I can't show my feelings.
What am I doing showing my feelings?
What am I doing showing my feelings?
I gotta drive on.
I have to drive on.
No wonder I feel vulnerable.
No wonder I feel vulnerable.
No wonder I have this tightness in my body.
No wonder I have this tightness in my body.
No wonder I feel exposed.
No wonder I feel exposed. Drive on, airborne, drive on.
Drive on, airborne, drive on.
Drive on, airborne, drive on.
Drive on, airborne, drive on. So he was trained not to pay attention to these outrageous feelings and sensations and memories. So he had the impression that his job was to drive on.
We're in my little, what we'd call, in military terms, my AO, my area of operation. And pre-California, where I'm sitting right now, I could reach my arm out and there would be at least 3 or 4 pistols and a shotgun and at least 1 AK. There was always a 45 in the Lazy Boy. And in the kitchen there was at least 3 or 4 sidearms.
If you don't feel safe, you'll be and behave in a paranoid way. If you don't feel safe, you won't go out in public. If you don't feel safe, you will carry a gun everywhere.
For me to feel that relaxed, even if there was no people in that restaurant, I was able to tap. I was my person. This is Andy Hodnick, and I'm going to tap.
Well, we never took anyone where they couldn't go. They had permission to tell us to stop, and we gave them the technique right then and there to reduce the intensity. So in the same 60-second period that they are telling us the deepest trouble, we are giving them the technique to bring down the intensity.
This is making me feel so much better about myself, and making me think about things in such a different light than any medication, any other therapy, or any other illegal drug that I've ever taken in my life.
Energy psychology techniques address what you really need to do, which is rewire your perception of what happened. Yes, it happened, but 10 years later, you don't need to still be approaching the world as if it's about to happen again. In this case, life-threatening situations with an enemy.
I could tell the moment that I answered the phone that he had changed.